Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Budget, Finance, and Economic Development Committee. It is March 11th at 9:01 a.m. Welcome. My name is Yukile Sugimura. I am the chair of this committee, and I just want to welcome all of you. Thank you very much. We have a long day ahead of us with a full agenda. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Sunshine Law, and as a reminder, when your name is called, if you are not in the council chambers, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today, and minors do not need to be identified. We have a
member, and then we'll be joining you in the chambers.
Okay. I see. So Member Cook will be joining us at about 10:30, as well as Member Kama. Member Johnson, good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Council members, committee members. There's no testifiers at the Lanai District Office. The birds are singing and the dogs are snoring. I'm here and ready to work, and I see Councilmember Cook has joined as well. Thank you, Chair.
Very good. I like how your dog is snoring because we know that's factual. Good morning, Member Cook.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, fellow council members. I'm in my Kihei office this morning. There's currently no testifiers here, but I'll be working from my office today when the South Maui Community meeting is being held. And so I'll be checking out every once in a while, but I am, this is a very important meeting, and here I am. So
Okay.
Let's have a good day. And I do have one person in the office, and that's Jared, my aide, in the other room.
Okay, very good. Member Sinensi, I see you online.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Aloha kakayaka, my Maui Hikina here at the Hana District Office, and I'm here with Don Lono, and there are no testifiers, Chair.
Okay, and then we have Member Uhajans.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Chair Lee is joining us soon, so we will hear from her shortly. Also to take care of, this morning we have heavy agendas. We have a lot of people here to help us. From the Department of Management, I have Josiah Nishita, Managing Director. Department of Environmental, who's right here, our legislative attorney. Kirsten Zabel, legislative analyst, and James Kruger, senior legislative analyst. Pauline Martin, senior committee secretary, and everybody who helped put this agenda together. Please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. Thank you, members, for attending today's BFED committee meeting. We have 7 items on this morning's agenda, and at 1 o'clock, as you know, we have a new agenda where we'll carry on finishing the work of this committee. So we have 2 agendas. Agenda items, Bill 35, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, Appendix A, Part 2, General Excise Tax Fund, Wildfire Permanent Disposal Site, and Appendix C, Department of Management. Bill 37, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, estimated revenues, capital improvement projects, Department of Water Supply, Appendix A, Part 2, General Excise Tax Fund, and Appendix C, Department of Management and Department of Water Supply. And Bill 38, amending Chapter 3.10 Maui County Code relating to the General Excise Tax Use Surcharge, and Bill 33, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, Appendix A, Part 2, Affordable Housing Fund, Kai'ulu o Napili Project. Bill 24, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, estimated revenues, Department of Fire, Public Safety, Fire Rescue Operations Program. Bill 36, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, Appendix A, Part 2, Managed Retreat Revolving Fund, Baldwin Beach Park. Bill 34, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, Office of the Mayor, Economic Development Program, grants and disbursements for culture, arts, tourism, and Wailuku Film Festival. Bill 32, 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, estimated revenues for the Office of the Mayor Administration Program for grants to Akaku. Do we have any testifiers?
Chair, we currently don't have any individuals signed up to testify at the beginning of the meeting, although there is an individual indicating in the chamber that he'd
Okay.
like to testify.
So people who want to testify, you can sign up in the lobby or join us on Teams link or call in the phone number noted on today's agenda. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas as well. Under the Sunshine Law, the chair will receive oral testimony for agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and as the item is called. Looks like we have J.C. Law. Is the mic on? Just a second. Oh, you're not testifying? No.
At the beginning, I
You
testify
can
at the
testify
beginning.
now and all, or you can testify before
I think,
each,
I
after
think I
the
have like
resource.
at least two different ones I'm going to testify. But at this point, I would just like to welcome Alice Lee to the chamber, and I was wondering
That
what
is not your role,
the greeting
sir.
of the day was.
That is not your role. Please leave.
Okay.
Okay. So this time then I'd like to welcome Chair Lee. Welcome to the meeting.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Had
Good
some last minute phone calls. I just love when people call me when I'm ready to leave for work. Thank you.
That's what happens when you're popular, right? Okay, so do we have any more testifiers?
Chair, there's currently no one else indicating they'd like to testify at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, members, if there's no objections, I'd like to close public testimony for the beginning of the meeting and receive any written testimony. Okay, thank you. Okay, so as I said, we have quite a full agenda, and we're operating. I thought we were going to be with bare quorum, but it looks like people are here that can be here, but we'll be leaving throughout to attend the Planning Commission meeting on the Wailea 670 project, I think, is why people are leaving. But if in case, my goal is to finish the 7 bills that we have by 11:30, which then we'll take a recess and we'll reconvene at 1 o'clock to take up really important, heavy items that is put on the second agenda. So that is my goal, so you can all, step aside for lunch and then come back. Any questions? See none? All right, we'll proceed. So the first item on the agenda is Bill 35, and it is amending the fiscal year 25 budget, Appendix A, Part 2, General Excise Tax Fund, Wildfire Permanent Disposal Site, and Appendix C, Department of Management. And members, this item, Bill 35, which proposes an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget to increase construction funding for wildfire permanent disposal site, is $8 million and reduce its operating and maintenance budget by the same amount. The administration reported the recent project bids exceeded budget estimates, requiring additional funding. However, lower than expected operational costs allow for this reallocation without increasing overall expenditures. Assisting us with our discussion today is Managing Director Agawa from Department of Environmental Management, and as well as the Budget Director. Is Environmental Management. Oh. Okay. Do we have, there he is.
Morning, Chair.
Okay. All right, so I gave you a new title. You're now Managing Director and DEM Director, but we'll correct that. But you can if you want. At this time then, Shane Agawa, please give us your opening comments and then we'll ask Budget Director.
Thank you, Chair Sugimura. Good morning, members. Basically, we had funded for the construction and operations of the PDS. At the point where we had the budgeted with the GET funds, we didn't have any bids yet. So it was kind of an estimate. The bids came in. We have the construction separated into 2 different construction phases. One is currently ongoing, which is the earthwork portion. The next phase would be the liner portion. The anticipated cost came out above what we anticipated. So the budget amendment is to just shift funds from the operations and maintenance portion into the construction portion to make up that difference. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Milner.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing to add at this time, but I'm happy to be here to address any members' questions. Mahalo.
All right, thank you. So this time I'll take public testimony. Is there anyone signed up for testimony?
Chair, we currently will have one individual signed up to testify. That would be Faith Chase.
Ms. Chase. Ms. Chase?
Yes. Hi. Aloha, Chair.
Oh, you're here.
Aloha,
Sorry.
Chair.
Nice to see you.
Aloha, council members. Been a moment. So first of all, I just want to say that I don't expect that this item will experience very much, discussion or pushback or anything. Our hearts are still just doing whatever we need to do to protect our island. But what I want to say is that as we allocate money to this specific landfill that is predominantly hazardous waste, that we don't forget about the Central Maui landfill and what we can do in the terms of, reducing, reusing, repurposing, recycling. I left this island to go to Oahu to work for Reuse Hawaii. I don't know if you guys have seen us in the news recently. We just relocated, but to mimic what they do so that I can bring it home to my home island. And so I have a grant to collect data to help the Department of Environmental Management, to help the Department of Recycling, to help you guys make decisions as far as like how we can salvage bigger materials instead of landfilling them. So I just wanted to remind this body that while I understand that we're not going to be able to recycle a lot of the things that are going to this expanded space, that we keep those methodologies of recycling top of mind where we can in other veins of our landfill waste. It's pretty intense. I'm kind of getting refamiliar, having been away for a year and a half, with the needs of our island. We do a huge hotel liquidation project. So I'm working with some of the nonprofits on Maui to make sure that those modular homes that don't have wide door spaces might be able to benefit from some of the hotel liquidation furniture that we have in stock. So just that point, like we have these hotels that take advantage of the tax incentives every 5 to 7 years to remodel, and that's a lot of waste. And we just don't have those Habitat for Humanity, Goodwill, Reuse Hawaii. We don't have enough of those models to actually take on all that waste. So it's a significant amount of waste to our landfill. Construction and demolition waste is anywhere from 30 to 40% most of the time. So just wanted to take advantage of this agenda item because I was on island helping these nonprofits and I saw it on the agenda, and I have mad respect for Director Agawa and the work that needs to be done. But let's just not forget those spaces and those places that we can support, reduce, recycle, reuse, repurpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Chase? See none. Thank you. Do we have another testifier?
Yes, Chair. The currently last person signed up to testify is JC Law.
Thank you, James, for working for the county. Is this timer working? How do I know when I would request that clerk's office give me time because there was a controversy yesterday at the HLU meeting.
Please begin.
Now? Aloha kakahiaka, aloha kako, aloha akaku. Queen Liliuokalani sends her best regards. A'oi. Thank you, Director Agawa. Thank you for working for the county. I know I'm having a little bit of a problem with the words I've requested before, but I guess once they put it in the codification, and it's hard to change it, but the word permanent, I've mentioned before, that sticks in my craw, as they say in the South of America. And you can't just sweep it under the rug and expect it to just go away. It's still under the rug. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for the testifier? See none. Thank you very much. Any more testimony?
Chair, we currently don't have anyone else signed up to testify on this item, so we'll do a last call. If there is anyone else who would like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. In Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, no one has identified themselves as wishing to testify.
Okay, thank you. So this time then, members, I'd like to go through deliberations and ask anybody who has questions for our resource personnel.
Chair, apologies. Could we just confirm that there's no objections to closing testimony?
Thank you. No objections. So we're going to proceed with deliberations. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to ask questions, and we'll start from this end and go down and then go online. So we have Chair Lee.
Thank you. My question is, I'm not sure if it's probably Director Agawa. Okay, could you tell me, you said the estimates were preliminary, but you were short $8 million. What does the $8 million cover? And what were the reductions in operations?
Director.
Chair. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Chair Lee. So the main reason why we were short was, again, we didn't know the bids, and then we put an expedited time of performance, right? We put a lot of pressure on the contractor to get it done because we are on a time constraint. So the $8 million is to cover the shortfall in the earthwork portion, which is phase 1 of the construction. That's one contractor. And then the other is the phase 2 portion, which is the liner portion. So it's basically an overall shortfall on the construction side. Now, we did break down the GT funding into construction and operations and management. We have yet to get bids for the operations and management. We're in the process of that right now, getting the RFP. So until we have those numbers, we need to take the monies from the operations side to cover the cost of construction.
Okay, thank you, Director. Thank you. Okay, so it's really not savings from the operations side? You're going to come back for another $8 million for the operations side. And then so my question is, are any of these funds going to be reimbursed?
Yes, so the tipping fees that we'll be assessing would be the reimbursement portion, cost per ton.
And when do you think that will be happening?
As far as time-wise, I'm not sure, but I know as far as keeping track, they're going to weigh the debris at the Olowalu TDS, and we'll keep track of the tonnage, and then we will implement the cost per ton, which will be paid from the federal government.
Okay, from FEMA, yeah? FEMA or
Correct.
Army Corps? FEMA. Which one?
FEMA with the ultimate reimbursement.
Okay, so the tonnage will be weighed at Olowalu then? Oh, that'll help, yeah?
Yes, so the scales that were used from the debris from Lahaina to Olowalu will be used for the debris from Olowalu to the PDS in Central Maui.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Member Paulton.
Is it Alpha that's constructing the PDS?
Chair, yeah, thank you for that question, Member Paulton. So the first phase, which is the earthwork portion, which is happening now, is Alpha. The second phase, which is the liner, we rebid that separately, and that would be Maui Kupono Builders.
And then so it's expected to be finished by June 1st?
Yes, that is our anticipated timeline. The first phase we anticipate to be completed by March 17th, which is the earthwork portion. And then the second phase, which is the liner, we just provided notice to proceed to Maui Kupono. Their notice to proceed date is March 24th, and their contract is 60 calendar days from that date of notice to proceed.
And,
so we're anticipating, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, they have experience with this liner installation before?
To my knowledge, I am not sure. I can find out that but I don't have that information right now.
And who would be like inspecting the work that it's correct?
So part of the cost of the construction, we do have monies allocated for environmental consultant. That would be Emir consultant who would be doing the CQA, the quality assurance during construction. So they will be inspecting as construction goes to make sure everything has been constructed per compliance.
And what strategies, because when they dumped the burritos in Olowalu, they break open, but there's, you know, the physical formations for the wind, and I think they stopped work if it was consistently 45 miles per hour. In the Central Maui landfill site, it's pretty windy, like as when we used to have plastic bags. So what kind of precautions are there so when they break open the burritos, that ash debris doesn't fly around upcountry or South Maui?
Thank you for the question. I do not want to speak for Army Corps because they are managing the operational and the transport, but from attending meetings, to my knowledge, they do wet the debris at the Olowalu, so it's damp. They are going to wrap it again, transport it. They will have dust control spraying at the PDS. One of the main difference is the elevation at the PDS. So the plastic bags that you're referring to, a lot of that generates from the top of the mound, which is phase 4 and 5. The wind catches up there. The PDS is actually in a hole that's 50 foot deep. So a big difference in debris being blown by the wind.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And next we have Member Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director Agawa. I see that Alpha's bid was 5.2 million and Maui Kupono's bid was 14.3 million. What did we at first assume it was going to be for, I guess, Alpha's and then Kupono's?
I do not have that breakdown, but combined, it was 16 million for both. And at the time, we're still figuring out if we were going to bid it out under one contract or two. There was a lot of things up in the air, but to expedite it, we broke it out into two contracts. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if we have anticipated costs of the two or the entire, but I can get that information for you.
Okay, and then I'm not too sure if this question is for you or Budget Director Milner, but I wonder if you could describe what construction contingency is for 1.4 million on the bottom of your letter.
I can answer that.
Okay.
So construction contingency, as many of you know, there are unforeseen issues that come up during construction, whether it's rain or materials. There's a multitude of various factors that we can't prepare for. So that contingency is just to prepare for unforeseen costs associated with construction.
Okay. Okay. The construction then of just this space is nearly $22-ish million. That's quite significant. I think that's all the questions I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks, Chair.
Member Hodgins. Next, we have Member Johnson online, then Member Rollins-Fernandez, Cook, Senensi, and myself.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director Agawa. Always good to see you. Some of my questions were answered already, but I want to add a question in regards to the air monitoring. So when will that happen, and who will report it to the community?
Thank you for that question, Member Johnson. So we are currently contracting that air monitoring portion out. It'll be similar to the Olowalu TDS, where we would have monitors upwind, downwind, and then moving according to the wind direction. The plan is also to have personal air monitors on the workers, maybe not all, but just to see what the air quality is in the working area. And then as far as reporting, we could report it either way, similar to Bill 120. Anticipate we can report it on the Maui Recovers website to make it transparent to the public. In addition to that, we are talking with Department of Health. They do have these purple air quality monitors. I don't know if they still have that in stock or if that program is still going, but people can request the purple air quality monitors from DOH Clean Air Branch, and that is reported on their own dashboard, the DOH Clean Air Branch dashboard. So it's all real-time data that's available to the public.
So the public would reach out to the Department of Health, the State Department of Health, to request one of those personal monitors? Is it?
That's correct. So you can contact Clean Air Branch, and if they still have that program running, they could request the air quality monitor.
Interesting. Thank you for that information, Director Agawa. Will there be a duct fence along the road there?
That's a good question. I haven't seen the scope of work. I'm assuming there will be, but I need to talk to our engineers to see what's part of the scope of work. I can get that answer for you.
Okay, because presently they are doing some digging and there is not a dust fence. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I'd like to learn more, Director Agawa, so maybe you could send your response to the committee.
Yes.
Chair, no further questions.
Okay. Did we get that question? Yeah, okay, we have that question. Thank you, Member Johnson. Next we have, is Member Rollins Fernandez? She's not here, right? Oh, she's taking, okay. Member Cook, followed by Member Senensi. Member Cook, can you hear us? Okay, I guess we'll go with Member Senensi. Can you hear me? You can't hear me, okay. Do you have questions? Oh, there.
Hello, Chair. I don't know if I missed it, but Director, did you say when you were starting to move the burritos from West Maui to Central? Sorry, thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, Member Senensi. So we anticipate the start of the transport to begin in the month of June, early June.
Oh, early June, okay. And then I guess that sounds like all the different routes through some of the private properties have been already secured.
Thank you for that question. Although DEM is not part of the route and the transport, my understanding is that there is an alternative route to take it off of Kuihelani Highway through County Rata entry to Maui Veterans, and then from Maui Veterans Highway up to the PDS on Little Road. That is still in place.
Oh, okay. And did I hear you correctly if you said that DEM is not doing the transport, but the Army Corps?
That is correct. So DEM primary goes the PDS, the receiving area, and Army Corps and their contractor will be doing the transport portion.
Okay, thank you for that update. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Good questions. So for myself, I wanted to ask, maybe it's the department, what is the value, or maybe Ms. Milner, what is the value of FEMA's contribution for the construction and operation of the PDS? Do we know?
Thank you, Chair. I don't believe we have that quantified yet, not knowing the weight of the debris, but I will defer to Director Agawa if he has a little more information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Director Ogawa?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Budget Director Milner is correct. We will not have that number until we have all the debris weighed. There is an estimate of the debris itself, but as you can imagine, there's more debris from Oluwalu that will be transported. There's the cover cap material that they've been daily covering the debris. There's the operational layer, which the debris sits on in Oluwalu. So until we get the final weights, we're not too sure on what the final number would be. I can share with you that they are intending to pay the standard tipping fee that the public pays at CML, and by law, my understanding is they cannot pay any more for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we tried to raise that so that they would have a special fee, and we were told we couldn't do it. So, thank you for that. Are there any deadlines that could jeopardize FEMA funding, and what specific consequences could the county face if this deadline is missed?
Thank you for that question. Again, I do not want to speak for FEMA or Army Corps. My understanding is that the timeline is at the end, somewhere around the end of this calendar year for FEMA support. Other than that, due to the shifting and movement in the federal government, after that, it's unknown as far as federal support. But end of calendar year is my understanding.
Okay, so end of calendar year, you're saying is our goal, that we need to finish this debris removal from temporary to permanent. Is that right?
Yes and no. That also includes Army Corps portion of restoring the Oluwalu site, which will go past when the debris is transported. So the debris transport will take approximately 5 months from beginning of June. After that, there will be some operations to restore the Oluwalu site.
Okay. Okay. And is FEMA funding contingent on any additional compliance measures beyond completing the site on time? So are there any more federal guidelines that we need to be concerned with?
The answer is yes. We are required to design the site per federal regulations, state DOH regulations. We are designing it and constructing it to a subtitle D, which is under the requirements, but that is part of the requirements.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Members, anybody else have any more questions on this? I see no hands. Are you ready to, Member Paulton? Do you have a question? You weren't raising your hand. Okay, sorry. All right. So members, then at this time, if there are no other questions, I'm going to be asking for passage on first reading. I'd like to recommend passage on first reading, Bill 35, entitled A Bill for an Ordinance Amending Fiscal Year 25 Budget for the County of Maui, Appendix A, Part 2, General Excise Tax Fund, Wildfire Management Disposal Site, and Appendix C, Department of Management, incorporating any non-substantive revisions.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Chair Lee, second by Member Uruhajens. Any more discussion, members? No questions? All right, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I guess who's not here is Member Rollins Fernandez. Is that correct? So is it 8? That's the only one?
Yeah, Member
Oh,
Kama.
and Member Kama. So 7 ayes and 2 excused. Member Rollins Fernandez and Member Kama. Thank you. Motion passes. We are done with 1 bill out of 7. Very good. Right. Okay. Next, we have Bill 37 and 38. Members, this next item on our agenda consists of the 2 bills, both of which address the allocation of general excise tax surcharge revenues for water infrastructure projects for the Department of Water Supply. And I think we are supposed to have Member Kimo Landgraf. Is he online? Deputy Director Landgraf, thank you. Okay, anyway, Bill 37 proposes amendments to the fiscal year 25 budget to allocate $25 million of general excise tax surcharge revenue to the Department of Water for capital improvement projects. Bill 38 proposes 1, removing the requirements for the two general excise tax funds to be the exclusive depository for general excise tax surcharge revenue and allowing GET surcharge revenues for water-related projects to be transferred to the Department of Water Supply for the project's duration, tracked separately and returned to the appropriate general excise tax fund upon completion. Currently, 80% of the county's general excise tax surcharge is deposited into the fund, and 20% into the general excise tax fund for the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. However, the existing language in the Maui County Code limits the county ability to transfer funds to the Department of Water Supply, creating an accounting and reporting challenge for the annual water single audit, which is a report that we get every year. I will, assisting us with our discussion today is Budget Director Milner, Director Martin, is she here? Marcy Martin? Department of Water Supply, also we have Deputy Director James Kimo Landgraf, James Akwat, CIP Civil Engineer. 6, also available is Ortine Arciadera, Fiscal Officer, and James Jensen. Is everybody here? I only see you. Is everybody online?
Chair, apologies. Online we do see Ms. Asadera, but we don't see any of the other water supply representatives online at this time.
Okay. Do you know if she's going to be the only one representing the Department of Water Supply, Director Milner?
Thank you, Chair. I will find out. They may be logged in on one login, so I will confirm.
Oh, a group login. Okay. So can we ask for opening comments from the Water Department as well as from you, Ms. Milner? Or is she the only one representing the Water Department?
I'll go ahead and start while we see who's online from the Water Department. But as you said in your opening remarks, yes, the purpose of this is because in discussions with the Department of Finance, we determined that for financial reporting purposes, funding under the GET fund for Department of Water Supply projects needs to be transferred to the department so they can recognize those capital assets within the department. Because they are an enterprise fund. So we're requesting these amendments because without them, we cannot transfer those funds. The department will be tracking these funds separately, and any unexpended funds will be returned to the GET fund because we understand that they are restricted use funds. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Is anybody here from the Water Department for opening comments?
Chair, good morning, Chair. This is Ortine Asidera, the Fiscal Officer for Department of Water Supply. Ms. Milner has given you all the information that we have for this budget amendment, for this bill. I don't have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, so are you representing the department and we're not expecting anybody else? Since we had such a long list of people, just wondering.
I think I was told that our engineering department division would be participating also.
Okay.
However, our deputy director is not. He is in another meeting.
Okay.
But Tom and James Jensen are supposed to be part of this council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I can double check, Chair, and let me see if they are signing in.
Okay, we don't see them right now, I suppose. Yeah. we
Okay.
cannot. So so that would be James Jensen and it would be Tom Akwat.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, so they're not here. So this time then I'd like to ask if there's any public testimony for this item.
Chair, we currently don't have any individuals signed up to testify on this item, so we'll do a last call. If there is anybody who would like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, no one has identified themselves as wishing to testify.
Okay. Then at this time, then I'll take questions. We'll start from Chair Lee, then we'll go to Member Paulton, Member Hodgins, and then our online friends. So,
Apologies, Chair. I'm so sorry. Can we just
I have to
confirm
close
there's
public
no objections to
testimony.
closing?
So I'd like to ask for your permission. Thank you to close
No
public
objection.
testimony. Thank you. And we'll receive any written testimony on this item. Chair Lee, do you have any questions? 3 minutes?
Yes, this is more complicated, this issue, the Bill 37, because the Water Department is, an enterprise fund, so it has a bunch of conditions and restrictions. So Director Milner, is this comparable to transferring general funds to this department? Or is this different because these GET funds are restricted in and of themselves?
Oops.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lee. No, we don't consider this to be the same as transferring general fund because these are restricted specifically for use for water, wastewater, waste disposal. So it's not the same as if we were supplementing the enterprise fund.
Got that. So you're asking us to approve transferring GET funds, 25 million, to the water department for some projects. And I thought I heard you say, and if they don't spend all the money, they'll return it. I mean, don't they know how much to ask for?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lee. Yes, as we discovered in our discussion with DEM, the departments provide their best estimates for what these projects will cost. And it is anticipated they will fully expend the funds, but we wanted to ensure that if the funds were not fully expended, that they didn't stay with the department, that they came back to the GET fund.
I don't know if it's related to this, but recently, didn't you submit something where we transferred lapsed bond funds to the water department? No?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lee. No, the water department has their own tracking for lapsed bond funds for bonded projects in water. We did transfer funds last year from the general fund, but because that was due to the wildfire emergency, it was an exigent circumstances situation.
I see. Okay. And so I'm assuming that they have the resources and personnel to carry out $25 million worth of projects.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lee. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, are you done? Member Paulton.
No questions.
Member Wu Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. I also have no questions.
Okay. Member Johnson, online.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quick, can someone explain Kamole Weir Water Treatment Facility? Is that saying that they're purchasing that system? Can you elaborate on that?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. That is for a filter replacement at the Kamole Water Treatment Plant facility.
Okay, so I'm sorry, it's not for purchasing?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. I believe this is for work at a facility that we already have.
Work at I'm sorry, you broke up. Okay, now I understand. Thank you so much. Okay, Chair, no further questions.
Thank you. Next we have, Member Rollins is still in the air. We have Member Cook, followed by Member Sinensi.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My question for the budget director, since this, the GE taxes are, the GE tax fund is for the Department of Water Supply and also for environmental management. Does this transfer, the criteria and the parameters of this transfer apply also to environmental management? I'm just curious, like we're taking money from the GE funds to the Department of Water Supply, and I just need clarity because I'm not totally clear on the restricted funds aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Cook. While there are special funds that fund the Department of Environmental Management, they are not considered to be enterprise funds. So we don't feel that they need the same sort of transfer that the Water Department does to ensure that that enterprise fund can recognize these as capital assets.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Member Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair. Mahalo, Ms. Milner. Okay, so just for clarity, 25 million from the, was it from
General excise tax.
GT? And then, so it looks like 10 million will be for repairs for projects. The Kamole Weir replacement, 5 million, but you're also minusing 10 million from their fund. Is that correct? Can you explain that one?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Sinensi. There's also a $10 million line item for the integration of public and private water systems that was added by Councilmember Cook during the FY25 budget deliberations.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right, just trying to pencil in all the different amounts. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So I have questions. Oh, first of all, I'd like to welcome Deputy Director Landgraf. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, so we're just here trying to support Leslie, and because this is new to us too, this transfer. So we're trying to figure out what's the way to make it work best. And we know it's restricted funds, so if we don't use all of it, we know it goes back into the GET. But we're not sure on how this is going to transpire.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And all right. So that's the commitment from the Water Department. What specific charges from previous year or changes from previous years make this accounting and code adjustments necessary now? And was it identified by the auditors?
Thank you, Chair. This is the first year that we've been allocating funds from the GET to the department, so it's been a learning process for all of us. We identified this with an internal conversation. It was not an audit finding that I've been aware of.
Wait, what did you say?
It was not an audit finding.
Oh, it was not an audit finding. Yeah, because we're still waiting for the single audit from last year. So we look forward to learning more about deficiencies when that does come up. And we do have the Water Department audit from last year, but we look forward to seeing what the total picture is. And does the department currently have the resources to manage tracking for the accounting?
Chair, this is Artin. Yes, we do. Thank you.
Oh, very good. That's the answer we wanted to hear. Can you explain the process for separately tracking funds between the funds from the GET fund and the GET Department of Hawaiian Homelands? So to keep it separate. What is your process?
For Water Department, once this bill is approved by the council, a sub-fund will be created by Department of Finance. And based on that sub-fund would be just solely related to the GET funded project. And then we will create an index code for those projects. That would be, the sub-fund would be the one that would separate us from Department of Hawaiian Homeland.
Okay. So in other words, you will have a special account just for this project as you use the funds.
Yes.
And you won't mix
yes,
it with
Chair.
others. Okay. And it'll have its own sub-account number, and we can ask for that information. Thank you very much. Member Kama, welcome.
Good morning, Chair.
You're here early.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Chair Lee, then I'll ask Member Kama if she has questions.
This is for the budget director. So are you saying that that's 25 million that's being transferred to the water department is a result of them being short $25 million for something? And what is that something?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lee. No, it's not a result of them being short. These funds were allocated for water department projects under the GET fund during the fiscal year 25 budget, and we just want to allow the water department to be able to access those funds to get these projects done.
Okay. It seems that the deputy was a little surprised. You looked a little surprised at what the money was for? Or are you just happy to see us?
No, I think it's because this is a new process, so I wasn't sure on how budget is going to transfer it to us, and so we're not as familiar with the process. I do know what the money is for.
Okay. So you when you created your budget last year, had $25 million worth of projects in your budget, and you were counting on the GET funds to pay for the 25 millions worth of projects. Okay. So now you're transferring that from GET to the water department.
Yes.
So we're going to need to know, if you don't spend down your money, we're going to need the money back, yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We got you on the record. Thank you.
Okay.
He might not want to come visit us so often by that, but
No, Kimo is a
we
good
No,
guy.
it's okay.
we like
I get
Deputy
it.
Director.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is a good guy. Okay, anybody else have, Member Kama, sorry about that.
I have one question, Chair. How much did we take in from the GET?
Ms. Milner.
80 million.
Thank you, Chair. For this year, we budgeted 60 million. We did bring in some excess in FY24 that will be recognized in the FY26 budget as additional funding in the GET fund. It was approximately 6.5 million, I believe. So about 5 million will go into the GET in FY26, and about 1.5 will go into the GET DHHL fund.
So the total, I'm sorry, so the total?
The total for FY24, I will get to you. I don't have that right in front of me.
Okay, can you send that as a question? Okay.
Yep. Thank you,
We'll
Chair.
follow up for
Appreciate
you.
that. Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, seeing none then. So we will be watching this, so thank you very much. So I'm going to be recommending passage on first reading, Bill 37, 2025, entitled "A Bill for an Ordinance Amending the Fiscal Year 25 Budget for the County of Maui Estimated Revenues Capital Improvement Project, Department of Water Supply, Appendix A, Part 2, General Excise Tax Fund, and Appendix C, Department of Management, and Department of Water Supply, incorporating any non-substantive revisions, and Bill 38, entitled "A Bill for an Ordinance Amending Chapter 3.1, Maui County Code relating to General Excise and Use Tax Surcharge, incorporating any non-substantive revisions."
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
so I guess I see.
So moved.
So ordered.
Shirley and Member Kama with a second. Any more discussion, members? See none? All right, I don't see any for discussion, so let us vote. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Does that look like 8 ayes and 1 excuse, which is, yeah, okay, Member Johnson, which is Member Rollins Fernandez is the only one, right? So 8 ayes, 1 excuse, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Director Landgraf, for zooming up here. Thank you. It's only 9:57, and we are on the third bill now, Bill 33. Can we have the Department of Housing to join us? Thank you very much, very much. Bye, Kimo, thank you. So Bill 33, amending fiscal year 25 budget, Appendix A, Part 2, Affordable Housing Fund, Kaiaulu o Napili. Members, the next item on our agenda proposes an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget to allow funding for the project. Specifically, this bill would adjust the Affordable Housing Fund estimated balance at 6/30/24 by $11,892,259 due to the lapsing of funds for 6 previously approved projects, and condition 650 to AO746 Lahaina LP for pre-development costs associated with the Kaiaulu o Napili Affordable Housing Project. The project is planned to include 120 multifamily rental apartments for residents earning up to 60% of the AMI. This site is located at site is located on 14.99 acres of county-owned land in Napili, Assisting us with our discussion today is Budget Director Milner and Housing Deputy Director Mataava. And I also thought I saw Richard Mitchell in the audience. No? Oh, is he right there? Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I saw him. So you're it. I'm asking for opening comments at this time from Deputy Director, from Budget Director Milner, as well as Housing Deputy Director Mataava. And any opening comments?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the BFED Committee, for having the Department of Housing here today. The department and the administration are both in support of Bill 33, and would request the BFED Committee to recommend passage on first reading. I'll be here with you guys today to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Milner.
Thank you, Chair. Just really wanted to quickly add that the pre-development costs here will include things like a traffic impact analysis report, cultural impact assessment, district boundary amendment, and a market study for the application. So just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So do you have costs associated with it that you just mentioned, or you want us to ask for it in writing?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. We are asking for $650,000 in pre-development costs, and the grant would go to the limited partner for Ikaiko Ohana.
Okay, thank you. All right, any testifiers?
Yes, Chair. We currently have one individual signed up to testify. That would be Thomas Fisher.
Oh, good. Mr. Fisher, you should actually be here as a resource. There you are.
PBR.
Mr. Fisher?
Mr. Fisher, you're unmuted on our end. You'll need to unmute on your end.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, Tom Fisher, Ikaiko Ohana. Chair, happy to be here as a resource. Thank you.
Oh, okay. But first, do you have any opening comments before we can designate you as a resource?
Oh, sure. We are have to be working on the project in Napili. We've looked at it from a development standpoint to subdivide a 14.99 acre parcel and develop 120 affordable homes. With the recent changes at the state of Hawaii, we're actually able to go up to 80% AMI. So we'll be including that in our proposal as well.
Okay. Is that it for your opening comments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, if you don't mind, would like to designate Mr. Fisher as a resource.
Objections?
Thank you. All right, so any opening, do you have any testifiers?
Chair, we currently don't have any other individuals signed up to testify at this time, so we'll do a last call. Oh, apologies, Chair. There is a second testifier. That would be Doug Bigley.
Oh, he should be a resource. Mr. Bigley.
Okay, I'm just here to register as well. I didn't know if I missed my opportunity, but I'm also here for a resource as needed.
Okay. Do you have any opening comments then?
I guess my only opening comment would be that part of the struggle we're having in Hawaii now is that the cost of readiness is getting higher. HHFTC is now requiring that we go to building permits to score. So that's becoming problematic, which means we're going to be putting a lot of money into each project we select. That's number one. And the other thing I'll put you, and we can discuss this, in more detail if people are interested, but one of the other issues is that everything we do in Hawaii now is starting to be sequential. So everything we have to go to, because people say, well, if I go to one department, they go, well, is this person ready? And if I go to another department, they say, have you already done this? And what happens is we're trying to create, the reason we move faster than a lot of people is because we look for opportunities to go concurrently. So like I know people are mentioning things like water, and they're mentioning things like entitlements, you've got with the 201H. And we have to find ways to move them along in a concurrent fashion instead of putting one after another. And this is what every time a department these days does process improvement, our timeline gets longer. Our timeline gets longer, not shorter, because they have to look at things twice and use another month. So it looks a little inefficient inside the department. But because they make us go concurrently, we could stretch this thing out to a 5 to 6 to 7 year process that should be much shorter than that. So that's one of the reasons why we want to start everything now. You know, people are always saying, I think Patton once said that it's better, you know, good now is better than great later. And I think that's where we're at to move things along in Hawaii. So I'll just lay that out there as a point of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, I'm going to ask if we could designate also Mr. Bigley as a resource. So anybody have any questions right now, or can we reserve it for later? Okay, we're going to reserve it. So, okay, so Mr. Bigley and Mr. Fisher, could you be resources for this item? Thank you very much. Okay, testifiers.
Chair, there isn't anyone else signed up to testify at this time. We'll do a last call. If there is anybody who'd like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. You can do that on Teams by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, no one is identifying themselves as wishing to testify.
All right, thank you. So members, I'm going to ask your permission to close public testimony. We'll receive any written testimony on this item. Thank you. So we'll now proceed with your questions. As you know, you have 30 seconds for 3 minutes, and then per member. Do we want to start with Member Kama, then go to Chair Lee, next Member Paulton, Member Hodgins?
Thank you, Chair. I think this is for Ms. Milner come and, you know, we're not able to encumber their funds or whatever. Is that done annually or?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Kama. I don't know that there's any sort of report that's provided. We usually recognize the funds in the next year's budget. So the remainder of these funds will be in that anticipated balance column for FY26. But I don't know that we necessarily provide a report on the projects that don't move forward. But obviously, if that were requested, we're happy to do so.
It's very helpful. It's very helpful for us to know that, you know, because there's a lot of discussion that goes on around here. We say, oh, I thought that we gave this, and I thought we gave, yeah, we did, but nobody used it, so therefore it goes back. But thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next we have Chair Lee.
Director, I am very concerned that certain projects are not funded arbitrarily. And since we appropriated the funding, I would think we would be the ones to say that the project is no longer on the active list. You know, so I think we're going to have to work on that, because this is highly unusual when we find out Hagai Institute, which we thought was proceeding, all of a sudden you take $3 million from that and $6 million from Kuhikahi. That's $9 million to fund, you know, this $11 million, well, the $650,000 project that we have no idea about, you know, and this $650,000 grant is going to be used for the beginning of the project, yeah, which is kind of unusual, where we fund assessments and applications to LUC and so forth. To me, that's highly unusual. Your comments?
Department.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Lee, for the question. One of the interesting things about this project in particular is it is on county-owned land, and so we'll be working with the developer closely to issue a 75-year lease. So this is a county-owned parcel where we are collaborating with them. So
did you come to the council for that?
Excuse me?
Did you come to the council to? Okay, you bought this for open. We bought this for open space.
I would defer to the budget director on that, but it was part of a zoning condition that was granted, that the county executed in 2022 to acquire the property, the 50-acre parcel.
Okay. No, because we found out about this through the budget process, yeah? So this is my question. How did this get started, number one? And secondly, I have a lot of questions about the Affordable Housing Fund because we want to make sure certain projects are not just canceled, arbitrarily. And I think Chair Sugimura, I think we're going to have to do some budget amendments to make sure that any changes to the Affordable Housing Fund is approved by the council. Any comments on that?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Lee, for the question. I will say on Hagai Institute, when we were at the end of the fiscal year last year, going forward to execute that grant agreement, it was a recommendation by the proposed grantee to execute the grant amendment at a lower cost. They didn't feel like they could use the whole $5.5 million. They only felt like they could be able to use the small portion that was executed at the end of last year. So the remaining balance of the Hagai Institute is what you see in the Affordable Housing Fund today.
Mm-hmm. But the whole $6 million was taken from Kuikahi Village.
Chair and Chair Lee, thank you for that question. If you recall back in 2024, when the Department of Housing and Human Concerns came to the council to ask for budget amendment for a few projects, Kuikahi was one of them. And if I recall, it was a project that the council decided wasn't ready for funding at the time for Kuikahi.
So you're saying that we took it out?
As part of a budget amendment from last year.
And then we were doing it again?
No, so the projects you see on the letter that was transmitted by Budget Director, those were projects that received funding in FY 2024. So the funding isn't being taken out of the projects again, it just wasn't funded in FY 2024.
Yeah. Well,
so you're seeing the balance today of the projects that didn't get funded.
Okay,
in
we've
FY
exceeded my time already, but I'm just saying that it was noted that it was lapsed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Member Paulton, followed by Member Hodgins.
Have we considered that we're gonna have to buy the land from the open space funds?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Paulton. Yes, this is something I've been discussing with the managing director. And if affordable housing is to go forward, we will reimburse the open space fund if the parcel will no longer be used as open space.
And this is the one at the end of last year, you wanted us to do a resolution that we support Ikaiko Ohana, is that correct? And, we did say that, but I guess, with the 289, 60% and below, it's helpful that they can go up to 80%. But one of the biggest concerns that I had heard from folks that went to the lottery for the 200 units was that majority of people that need this housing make more than 60%. And we have 11, government subsidized housing projects that we're planning on rebuilding, many of them also 60% and below or around there. A lot of people want to buy houses. And we had this whole big presentation in Member Kama's committee yesterday. Like, if the county gets it to that point where it can be just shovel ready, go and develop it, then we don't need to necessarily subsidize it. Somebody could possibly build homes for $350,000 and then purchase it at that plus 5% or something. So just questioning for West Maui, where, not everyone can survive on 60% and below area median income, 80% and below area median income. Like, me by myself, I probably make that. But then, a lot of people have 2, 3, 4 jobs, or like a spouse with other jobs. Are we looking at the diversity of housing that is needed for the workforce, firefighter and a teacher, or public works, plumber and electrician, whatever like that? Or are we going to continually build in the 60% range, 60 to 80% now? and rentals only, because I thought, wealth generation.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll take a stab at that question. I think for us, as Director Mitchell previously stated, and what's the mantra of the department is to support housing across all AMIs. And when you see these types of projects come up, it's just because the math for the funding works a little bit easier to do the 60% and below projects, because there's a lot of resources and tools at the state and federal level to support them.
And we just came back from the federal level and they said, don't count on it.
So for us is, yes, we do want to work on that. And that is part of our mission and our goal is to get to supporting not just the 60% and below of the area median income, but all income levels. And it's a little bit trickier to do it above 60%, but we're researching now different financing options in the department to see how we can make that work.
Okay, I heard the bill.
Okay, thank you. Member U Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. I guess my questions are going to really center around how this is all going to work out. So this is 51 acres of ag land. Are we going to subdivide it now? Are we going to, I see it's 14.99 acres, which is 0.01 acre under going to the LUC. So how long is this going to take and what's the process to get it to where we got to go to get that 14.99 acres to develop housing?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Council Member, for the question. So what's being asked for right now is pre-development costs, and that will support the subdivision process. So with the end goal being, we were able to do the zoning change, which we anticipate hopefully happening at the end of this year. But I'll defer to our resources on the call to answer the specific questions on what the subdivision process may look like and a timeline for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher or Mr. Bigley? Subdivision costs.
Sorry, I think I'm online now. Yes, so we understand that our process would be to pursue a 201H zoning through the county council. And, that we did that before on the Kukuia project, and that was about a 9-month process. We expect this will be very similar. We've got our surveyor engaged, and also our entitlements firm, Mauna Kea Haraga, has been engaged, so we can start that process.
Okay. And then yesterday, as Member Paulton was discussing, we spent a lot of time talking about offsite infrastructure. I know we're not there yet, but how close is the nearest utilities that we would have to maybe connect?
Okay, thank you for the question. We have, will be offsite improvements required. I think it's about 450 feet for the sewer connection, and similar for the water. I know water at the moment is really under the state's control, but we are designing the system to tap into the water as well.
Okay. And then when you guys ultimately require more money to build this out, how much money are you guys expecting?
Well, are you talking about the entire project?
Sure.
Yeah. So, what we're seeing in Hawaii right now is the costs, as we all know, keep going up. Mm-hmm. But a project of this magnitude is probably going to be in the $700,000 or $800,000 per unit cost. We don't have firm numbers at the moment because we will obviously develop our full set of plans, go out for 3 competitive bids from general contractors, and go through that process.
Ooh, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next we have.
Do I get a chance to say anything, or is that okay? I just want to add one thing to it. This is kind of important. Is I think we can help develop a strategy, because what Tamara's talking about, I think, is extremely important. And this site could also be done in a combination of tax credits and non-tax credit units. That is a possibility. But I want to add to that, a lot of times you want to lead with your tax credit deal, because one of the things that's killing the for sale is the infrastructure improvement. The infrastructure costs are really high in Hawaii, and there's a lot of times no way to cover it. When you do a tax credit deal, you can bring in federal subsidies to do so. We'd love to build housing above 80%, but we have to kind of work through the difficulty. So if anybody wants to put a working group together to do that, or if you want us to show up as a resource at, the housing, we'd love to do that, because I think we can make a contribution there. Thank you.
You're done? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So next we have Member Johnson, Member Cook, and Member Senency.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to assume this question is for Deputy Director from Housing, Mutav. I'm curious about the 650,000. Does that go? How much of that is going into counties' permitting costs? So, are we paying ourselves with the affordable? Are some departments paying themselves with the Affordable Housing Fund? Is my question.
Deputy Director.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for the question. So I do have a breakdown of costs, if that's what you'd like me to kind of go over now, and I can provide you with a breakdown of what the 650,000 will go towards, if you'd like.
Yes.
Yes, please. I see other members nodding their heads, so I think it'll be good for everyone.
And then Director Milner just reminded me too that none of the funding is coming back to the county, but I can go through the breakdown of the costs for you right now. So. As earlier mentioned by Director Milner, we will have some costs for pre-development, and part of it is the traffic impact analysis report, which is estimated around 40,000. The archaeology is estimated around 5,000, and then the monitoring plan for archaeological purposes is almost $6,000. The archaeological inventory survey, there's a range here, so the total cost could range from $35,000 to about $57,000. There's also a cultural impact assessment, which is close to $40,000. A flora and fauna survey, a little over $15,000. And then the civil engineering right now is estimated about $150,000. Lastly is the DBA and 201H. The DBA is close to $300,000. So if you add those all up, it's approximately $650,000.
Who's doing that civil engineering again?
So the entity that will be doing the civil engineering is Fukumoto Engineering Firm.
Okay, thanks for that detailed response, Deputy Director. Chair, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Could you also provide that to us in writing on this item? So we got that. Okay, thanks, Sal.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next, Member Senency. Oh, I'm sorry. Member Cook. Oh,
No questions right now.
okay. Then Member Senency. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. For Ms. Milner, do we have a balance of the Affordable Housing Fund?
No.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Senency. So if this passes along with the 250,000 that was voted on first reading at the March 7th council meeting, the remaining balance will be approximately $10.9 million.
All right, and but that hasn't been spoken for, or does the department see any additional budget amendments? Anticipate any?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Senency. At this time, no additional budget amendments are anticipated, so we plan to recognize that full amount as part of the FY26 balance for the Affordable Housing Fund.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that update. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
All right. So the projects that were listed, I guess going back to an earlier question that was in the correspondence, the Kuikahi Village Workforce Housing, 6 million. Feasibility analysis and planning of development of affordable housing on county-owned parcel in Waikapu, 1 million. That was put in by me 2 budget cycles ago. Master plan and feasibility study for 5th Street in Lanai, 250,000. Hagai Institute, 3.9 million. Hawaii Community Development Board for Haleo Pi'ikea, 637,000. Administrative expenses is 70,000. And 1,565,000 was encumbered prior to June 30th. 1.5 was encumbered, $1,512,407. So every year you end up with balances like this, and I hear the department, the members asking for more information, so we don't end up today going, oh, look, we have more funds. So we will probably be asking you for more information as we go along. And, but I want to go back to the Hakai Institute because I know that we signed an agreement with HHFDC or the state that we would be taking it over on May 31st. And, but right now you're considering these funds unused, or what is the estimate, or what is going on? Because we do have a legal commitment from that lease agreement for Hagai.
Thank you, Chair, for the question. So there's actually a couple meetings this week with the administration where we'll be talking with HHFDC on how to proceed with the ground lease for the project.
Okay. Jess, what happened?
Thank you, Chair. I just add there is an additional $2 million that was encumbered for the Hagai Institute that is still available for their use as well. So there are funds available to support the county's commitment to this property.
Okay, because May 31st is coming up fast, right? And then from there forward, it's supposed to be basically our project that we move forward. Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. So one of the things that we're working on with the state is because the property is currently being used to house wildfire survivors, we're trying to work with the state now to see what an appropriate timeline might be for the county to take it back to develop affordable housing, teacher housing, and pre-K facilities for the property, which was part of the statute that was adopted at the state level.
Okay. I do know that with my communication with the state, they are looking at us taking this over on May 31st. So I've heard that also, that they should, because there's wildfire survivors. I hope that you all can work through that. It's kind of a big miscommunication.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, we've been having discussions with them, and tomorrow we actually have a meeting with the HHFDC to iron out the terms of what the agreement might look like moving forward.
Okay, so I know they're going to, I guess, pull down I thought it was 3, but the 2 million, I guess they are, which is HHFDC. But going forward, it is our responsibility, unless if you change the lease. So I think there's a big problem here. Let us know.
Thank you, Chair, and your representation is accurate.
Okay. All right. Members, any other questions regarding this? Chair Lee and then Member Paulton.
Okay, getting back to the proposed project and why we're here today to discuss the $650,000. I'm assuming that this project has water.
Thank you, Chair. So the project does not yet have a commitment from water. We anticipate working with the Department of Water Supply to be able to provide the project water because it is a county-owned parcel.
We've been told that there is no water. The county doesn't have water. Are they going to get new water someplace?
Thank you, Chair. So the Department of Housing would work with the Department of Water Supply, and we would actually defer that question to DWS on availability of water, but we are working with them to see what can be made available for this project. Since it is county-owned, it would be part of the water system that the county has.
What is 700,000 times 120? Okay, so they're expecting us to come up with $96 million to pay for the project. we're going to need a commitment of water, soon, before we even start this roller coaster.
Department.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and I would agree. We would need some type of agreement with the water department. And,
Yeah, and we're-
I would, if we could, maybe have a response requested in writing from them
Okay.
in conjunction with us.
Okay, good idea. And so the question would be to ask, where is the water coming from and when can it be made available for the project this size? And then secondly, did you go through a procurement process for this developer?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, Chair Lee. We did not go through a procurement process for this project. We did work with the council last year to pass a resolution with the council authorizing the Kaikohana to develop the properties. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we can check on, we're all guilty. Check on the process, okay?
Okay, you got that. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Member Paulton.
Sorry, I was partially in another meeting if these questions were already asked. How many units are we contemplating would be available of the 14.99 acres?
120.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Paulton, for the question. The project is currently proposing 120 multifamily units, rental units, and there'll be 2, 3, 4 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms each in each unit.
So, I guess for Mr. Bigley, we could possibly do maybe 60 rentals and maybe 60 for sale, like affordable in perpetuity or something, or owner occupied in perpetuity,
Department. Or is that?
or rent to own.
Have they gone that far with working out their numbers? Mr. Bigley or Mr. Fisher?
I'm not saying 50% market rate, just maybe higher than 80%, up to 100% maybe.
There's Mr.
AMI.
Fisher.
Sorry about that. Just trying to connect here. I'm sorry, one more time on the question. I want to make sure I get it right tomorrow.
Last time, Mr. Bigley was saying that there's a possibility that it wouldn't 100% have to be 80% and below AMI, because, a lot of people in West
Yes.
Maui are struggling up to 100% or even 120% AMI. So how would that look like?
Well, I think that Doug, I'm trying to see if he can get back on here, but I think that his point earlier was that when you start the project like this, the first 120 affordable units, which will be 80%, up to 80% AMI, that allows the overall parcel then to be looked at as, I guess, in phases where you have the affordable piece first, and we put in infrastructure that will be sufficient for future development, and then
we couldn't do
through
that
further.
because that's we did that before. You can't do a 15-acre DBA and then do another 15-acre and then do another 15-acre. That's a word for that. Piecemeal.
Right, but not necessarily this parcel, but in terms of when you have the infrastructure that you've put in place for this particular parcel, you can then use that to sort of develop additional, to your point, for sale properties.
Tom, can I take one small shot at this or no?
Sure.
I still have a minute or so. Okay. Tomorrow, when we engage like with you guys and we engage with, when we do a 2-1H application, that is a flawed process. And the reason the process is flawed is because we have to make certain assumptions inside the 2-1H that includes numbers. It's not only an entitlement document. I actually have to commit to numbers to go through the 201H. It shouldn't be like that. Like, it cuts off my flexibility. We just had one where now, because they've added income averaging, we have to go back through the 201H process. And so we've got to iron those things out. But I'm going to answer two things Tom said. Number one is this project could include higher end projects. We could do like 60-40, 60 at below 80 and 40 above 80. But we have to look at the numbers in conjunction with the county, because that does drive up the gap. And it may not be all the county's gap. I mean, HHFDC does support units, units above. So that's number one. So we don't have to end up with our current mix, if you will. But we have to convince the 201H, your group is who's ever approving the 201H process, that they don't hold us to the numbers that we have to commit to, like, several years before you actually build a project. And it's too complicated probably for this, but it is a problem. But the second thing is, and Tom mentioned, which is really vital, is that when we do infrastructure, we are burdened with the county's desire to extend the infrastructure, right? And what Tom is just mentioning is it will either benefit this project that will have those higher end units that you desire and we would love to do, with the fact that,
mine went out. I was doing the same thing. He's in big trouble.
Chief, I think you're not muted.
We got him.
Sorry about that. But so anyway, just to finish this off, but when we bring infrastructure into an area, it's to the benefit of other properties as well. And we can get subsidy, again, from the federal government when we bring it in as tax credit. So we have to it's the eye of the needle. But we could commit to units within the project, working closely with the county to figure out how what this project should look like. And we have a glut of, and I'm not saying we've ever have enough income at any level, but we certainly do have a glut of 60s, because it was highly, that was the biggest, most tax credit deals in the past had about 80% were in that 60 range. So that's why you're seeing this issue. It's either going down significantly or going higher. So anyway, and we have talked to the mayor's office. They would be desirous of having units above 80. So there you go.
I do have
Thanks,
more
Tom.
questions, but I did hear the
Sure.
bell.
Does anybody else have any more questions? Member Hodgins, and we'll go back to Member Paulton.
Thank you.
Oh, Member Senenzi also.
Thank you. I just want a little bit more detail on what a market study for the application means in this letter.
Mr. Fisher or Mr. Pigley?
Or, yeah, whatever, whoever can answer.
We have a market study. Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, for the application.
I think
What does that mean?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
We've already done it. We've already done a market study, so it's available.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Did that
then
answer the
that
question?
shouldn't, that's not then
I think
included
she's
in what
asking
we're
what's
paying
in the
for.
market study.
Yes. I didn't realize it was done because in our letter, it says that this monies is going to cover that. So knowing that it's done, will you share what's in the market study for this application?
So we'll send a request forward. So we
Sure.
can send a request and we can see what's in your market study. Is that okay?
I think we have, I think the summary is already in the existing application that we sent. And if you need any more than into the summary, we can supply that, or we can supply the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and to be
We'll just
clear,
supply the whole thing.
well, but to be clear, we have a market study about the market, not specific to the project, right? I guess we actually have both, don't we?
Yeah, we have both, though.
Yeah, so we can certainly make those available.
Okay. Sounds good. I look forward to reading it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank
Sure.
you. So if you don't mind, Member Senenzi had his hand up, and then I'll go back to you, Member Paulton. Is that right? Okay, Member Senenzi.
Thank you. I just had a question for Director Milner. I know that, and Chair, I know we're having the CDBG-DR discussed this afternoon, but are some of these projects that are coming in for West Maui rebuild, can some of these also qualify for the CDBG-DR funding for housing?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Sinensi. Yes, as indicated in the action plan, they're allocating approximately $900 million toward housing. So I would imagine that some of these projects would be eligible as we move forward. Obviously, due to the CDBG DR regulations, we can't identify any specific projects at this point in time, but a large chunk of that funding is definitely being allocated to housing and affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next we have Member Paulton, followed by Member Kama. Did you have your hand up or you? No, yeah.
I just was wondering how, if these things that the 650 would pay for is good, if there's no expiration date, because, you know, we have one project that's fully entitled already that has a water source that isn't being allowed to go forward. So I guess, you know, I'm concerned that we do this and we're still waiting on Seaworm to say that we can use our own water. Is that a possibility, or is county exempt from new WUPAs?
Deputy Director?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, Councilmember. That question would be better answered by the Department of Water Supply. But just as a general comment, you know, one of the things that the Department of Housing, in our mission and our goals, is to develop county-owned parcels, and this is kind of the start of it. So we hope to bring a lot more county parcels to you folks with plans on developing affordable housing on it. But this is just one of the first ones. We also have the Lanai Affordable Housing Project. So we hope with the new Housing Community Development Division coming on board to be able to bring you more parcels to look at and to help us fund and make towards affordable housing, and also look at the projects not just from the perspective of building projects that are 60% AMI and below, but also envisioning for other AMIs above that level. So this is the start of the department's process moving forward, and we do hope to bring a lot of the parcels that we've talked about and a lot of the plans and the studies to you folks so that we can get your input on whether, you know, they're good to move forward on developing housing on.
So the things that we're paying for, there's no expiration date on it. If we develop it next year or 10 years from now, we've laid the foundation already, and we're not locked into the 60% and below with this study or whatever the itemized list of the $650,000.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that question. So right now, we're asking for the funding to help us with the pre-development costs, and the proposed timeline right now is to be able to process that 201H at the end of this year. So we hope by the end of this year, we are able to take your comments and work with the developer to see if we can incorporate increased AMIs into the project, if that's possible. So we do have a little bit of time to work on that. So we do welcome the feedback, and to answer your question on whether they would expire or not, hopefully in the process and working on and getting feedback from you folks, we can incorporate some of those comments so that they are lasting and they don't expire 10, 50 years from now.
And so my concern is, you know, we have that range for our West Maui residents, but that it never, because it's county owned, that we can keep it affordable for residents, you know, like maybe it's their starter home or whatever, and they have that portability of affordability kind of thing that Director Mitchell was talking about. But I would like us to have that in writing to hear from the Department of Water Supply. I think eventually, I mean, we're gonna need the housing, and like you said, county-owned land is kind of our best option. It seems though, at what point would we be paying for the land?
Sorry. Answer real fast, if you can.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Pelton. I think when we determine if this project is going to move forward on county land, that would be the point at which we would come to you with an amendment to repay the open space fund, if that's necessary.
And the 650 would be enough for us to know that it's going to move forward at the end of it?
Thank you, Chair. That's my understanding, yes.
The one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I've been working with the LG on another project that could possibly be temporary and move forward, and there was kind of some backlash about it. So, at what point are we gonna bring this to the community that we're anticipating pre-development costs, that it's a possibility that development could go here? I mean, overall, we desperately need housing, but there is still some sort of NIMBY factor, apparently.
Department, when is this project going to come forward?
Thank you for the question. So the first formal process, and I'll let the developer also speak, but the first formal process is actually coming to you folks to process the 201H project. So there may be room in between that point and for the developer to also do community engagement as they start to develop and utilize the 650,000. So the first formal point where you guys will have the first crack at it and the public can review the project in its entirety will be at the 201H level, which I anticipate happening at the end of this year. But throughout the process to get us to that point, the developer is required and will do community engagement to make sure that their project is sound.
And you mean calendar year?
Correct. Sorry. Yes, calendar year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have questions before I call for the vote? Okay. Member Kama.
Thank you, Chair. So this is, I think, for Mr. Fisher. Earlier you said that that you mentioned something about $700,000 to $800,000 per unit. Were you talking about per square feet, or were you talking about the units itself, or in that statement, what did you mean? Could you clarify that?
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Kama. That's per unit, per door. That's kind of what we've been seeing recently on projects that we're pricing in Hawaii.
So what does that mean? That means that for every unit you build, it's going to cost between $700,000 and $800,000?
Yes, that's unfortunately that's where we are today. Someone mentioned earlier the total of 96 million, I think, and that we will fund that through a combination of likely tax exempt bonds as well as tax credits.
So the whole project is going to cost 96 mil. You're just asking us for the pre-development dollars of 650,000. Is that right?
Yes.
That's correct. And again, this is the first time we've been before council with this type of request. And partly, as Doug said earlier, what's driving it is we're now being held, developers in Hawaii are being held to a much higher standard before you go in for your project financing. And this is on county-owned land, and we are trying to determine the feasibility, right? I mean, water is a great point, we've heard that today, and we certainly were concerned about that, putting the package together. But this really just gives us a chance to look at the county parcel, determine what would fit in the county parcel. We know we can put 120 units. We'll also have a community center daycare that we have on our Kukuia project. At present, that's what designed, but to Councilmember Paulton's question earlier, I think Doug answered this as well. I may have not made myself clear on it, but we could in fact have a different unit mix. It'll hold 120 units, perhaps 60 or up to 80%, perhaps the other 60 or to a 120, whatever. This is why we're kind of doing what we're doing now, to try to get a handle on what's the best outcome for the development. Our group is very interested in community and community support. I think we've demonstrated that on our Kupohi project, as well as our Kukuia project in West Maui, as well as our projects over in Kihei. So we will certainly be seeking and holding community meetings as we have in the past to get community input on what's being proposed here as well. But again, the 650 really is all we're looking at now, is to give us the necessary tools, things we've heard before, like market studies, civil reports, connection to infrastructure. So, sorry, I just heard the bell.
Okay.
Oh, I hope that's a 2 minute, not the 3, but.
Are you done?
No, I have another question.
I'm done.
So,
Okay. You know what?
go ahead.
Sorry, Tom Cook has a question. I've been ignoring him, so can he do
go
his
ahead.
one question? I'll
Yeah.
come back to you.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Tom. Oh, sorry.
No problem. My question for our resource people is, since it's county funding and county land, will we end up with this study? Will it be somewhat of a template that is going to sort of show us and clarify the processes and the varying costs? I believe the cost will vary depending upon the land, the different situation, but the processes is something that, will we get that from this? And then the other aspect is we're limiting it to under 15 acres because of the state land use. What about the balance of the property? And will this study have any clue as to other potentials?
Department.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Cook, for the question. Yes, the answer is that the 14.99 acres will be residential through the 201H. The balance of the parcel still is county-owned land. I think originally when this parcel was acquired, it was for a public use, maybe a park, something along those lines. So I don't know exactly what the county's plans would be, but our analysis will focus on the residential development. And certainly as we put our package together, the county will have full access to all of our reports and processes. I think is a good point. I think you can take this, as a bit of a template, if you will, right, for other county parcels that are out there. And we're certainly happy to share that. Doug, I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to comment on two quick things. One is, as the county figures out what they want to do with the balance of the land, what that would mean, it has to go to the state, and that's the state land use. And if it does that, then I would suggest, if it's relative to housing or probably anything, we could participate in that process too. Just try to, when we get to the state process, we just want to avoid that. Obviously need for speed on our side. That's number one. And number two is I kind of teased out the idea that the 21H process, I think, needs some adjustment. And I'm not sure exactly who, I think that needs to be vetted as we go through our process, because I think we could fix some things that would allow Councilmember Paulton also to get where she wants to go, so that we can make decisions later than having to make them so soon. And I'll lay that out in more detail with the groups that are reviewing the 21H. But we'll get that all to you. It'll be a good learning experience for everybody, I think. Me too. Anyway.
Okay, Member Cook, are you done?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Paulton, and then I'm going to take a recess.
Thank you. I was wondering, are we sure that we want to go the 201H route? We could just go like the full 25 acres or 50 acres, and because as long as we're holding up on water, I guess it depends on whatever DWS says. We could be rushing to a finish line just to sit and wait, seem like Pulelehua.
So that's kind of more and above this item.
Oh, it was for Mr. Bigley, I guess.
Well, my preference is always go. I'll just be kind of brief on that one. But I will say that's what I was trying to tease out with Councilmember Cook a little bit, was that as we go, because once we go over that.
With me.
Pardon me? I'm sorry. No, the question I was trying to tease out with him on that was that there would be a time, I'm not sure we can't in some way bifurcate this, where you said earlier, I think you made the comment that once you go over the 15 acres, then it throws it into the state bucket, right? So what I want to do is I just want to do a stair step where I get to the 1499, and then perhaps when you've decided what you want to do with the balance of the project, because I'm not sure that's been resolved as yet, then we would go further with the other piece through the state process. We just start that as a separate once we've subdivided and we get our piece out, then we go through the state process.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Member Kama, you have a question.
Okay. So thank you, Chair. So I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around 120 units for 96 mil. I just know that. I just having a hard time. But, so is the 120 units will be put on how many acres of land?
14.99.
The whole 14?
14 point. They're trying to stay under the 15, right? Acres.
Yeah, I know, but 14 acres is a lot of land. I mean, people put 120 units on less acreage than 14. I mean, they're going to do that right outside my house. So are they going to, is it possible, I mean, do they have to use the whole 14.99 acres?
Department or?
That's a lot of land. You don't think so?
Well,
thank you, Chair.
Are you asking us?
No, I'm asking the
Can I
department.
just answer that real?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
And thank you, Councilmember, for the question. So the total acreage of the parcel that's under consideration is, I believe, a little over 50 acres. For the affordable housing project, we're looking to develop it under 15 acres, so 14.99 acres, as a strategy to help move the project faster and to provide housing for our residents in West Maui as soon as possible.
Hmm? So my question was, don't you think 14.99 acres is a big chunk of land for 120 units? Unless the units are all not stacked and they're not 3 stories high or whatever. I mean, and just look at all the developments that's going around, and they don't use that much acreage. So I'm thinking, can't we do something else with it or build more housing on county land if we can just
squeeze it out?
We don't have land.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, council members. So the project, the early conceptual plan does envision community spaces, so it's not just tightly packed housing. It does, the conceptual plan now does make sure that there's adequate, park space, or community spaces for the community, so it's not just housing in the 14.99 acreage.
Okay. I think I'm getting confused because it says a conceptual site plan is attached, but I don't see the plan. So, I mean, but this is mine to keep,
It's
Leslie?
attached to the building.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chair. You can take your recess.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? If not, I'm going to call for the vote and then go into a short recess. So at this time, members are going to recommend passage on first reading, Bill 33, entitled A Bill for an Ordinance Amending the Fiscal Year 2025 Budget for the County of Maui, Appendix A, Part 2, Affordable Housing Fund, Kaiu'olu o Napili, incorporating any non-substantive revisions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Member Wu Hodgins, second by Member Sinensi. Further discussion? Okay, I have a discussion. It appears that all these questions are coming up because it's early, right? And you haven't finalized the final plan. So I think all these questions are really relevant. So this is something that's different. The process is a little bit the horse before the carriage. So I wish you do provide us more information as soon as you can. So they're making fun of my phrase, but
cart before the horse.
Same thing. Carriage. We're in a different era. Okay. Anyway, let's all call for the vote. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. I think we have 8 ayes, 1 excuse, which is Member Rollins Fernandez. Okay. Thank you. We are done with this. We're going to take a recess and we'll come back at 11:10, 11:05, 11:10. Okay, 11:10. So. Welcome back, members. We were trying to end by 11:30, but doesn't look like it. Bill 24, amending fiscal year 25 budget, estimated revenues, Department of Fire, Public Safety, Fire Rescue Operations. And members, this item, which is Bill 24, proposes an amendment to fiscal year budget to increase funding for fire suppression operations in response to recent wildfire using $300,000 of carryover savings. And assisting us today is Fire Chief Ventura, Budget Director Milner, and we're asked for opening comments. I think I see, there he is.
Thank you, Chair. I'll let Chief go first.
Okay, Chief.
Okay, I just wanted to yield if I needed to. Thank you, Chair, and good morning, committee members. Mahalo for hearing our budget amendment request today. I'll kind of do my best to kind of summarize why we are here. Basically, the cost of the July Crater Road fires was high due to the remote location of the fire, as well as us having no water supply in that area. With the extremely low relative humidity on the crater, high winds, and no rain that month, we had to spend a considerable amount of time on that fire and effort. So that is where our shortcome is occurring this fiscal year. We're estimating that we need approximately about $400,000 to hopefully round out this fiscal year. But in order to meet that shortfall, we've postponed one project within our department to create a $100,000 savings, which brings us to the $300,000 that we're asking for today. $50,000 for helicopter use and $250,000 for additional dozer and water tender use. These numbers are basically projections. As we looked over the last April to June periods of the several years past to try to identify what is our normal fire rate look like for that period of time. And as always, we try to minimize our budget amendment impacts to the overall budget. So we continue to process our public assistance grants through FEMA. We've already brought in over $900,000 that's gone to the general fund. And then additionally, last month, we got $132,626 of insurance money that also went back to the general fund. You've all just also approved a couple of donations to our department. So those are the types of things that we're trying to do in the background to kind of minimize our expense to the community. That's the gist of it. I hope to answer all your questions today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next we have Ms. Milner. You have anything to add?
Thank you, Chair. No, but I'm happy to be available to answer any member questions. Mahalo.
Okay. Thank you. Members, I'm going to open for public testimony.
Chair, there's currently no one signed up to testify, but there is an individual approaching the podium.
Mr. J.C. Law.
I support my local fire department. We better get ready for next year.
I guess any questions? No questions for the testifier. Any more testifier?
Chair, no one else has identified themselves as wishing to testify. We'll do a last call. If there is anyone who does want to testify, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. Here's the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there's no one else wishing to testify.
Okay, thank you. With your permission, I'm going to close public testimony, receive written testimony at this time. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we'll have questions for the resources. We'll start off with Member Kama.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions. I just want to vote.
Okay, good. Next we have Member Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Chief Ventura, was the start or the cause of the fire ever determined?
In this particular case, yes, it was. It was determined to be utility infrastructure up in Cool Area.
And so is there any onus on the fire starter to assist us with the additional expense?
So that's a great question. Chair, can I answer that?
Yes.
So we are in the process of having a conversation with Hawaiian Electric. I have a meeting scheduled shortly to meet with them to discuss what you're asking for, and also just kind of discussing it with Corporation Counsel if this is something that we can approach. Additionally, I've talked to other jurisdictions, and it is not uncommon to get support from your utility companies for response to fires started by the infrastructure. So it is definitely something we are communicating about.
And then, do you know if this was after the PSPS took effect or prior?
That's a really good question. This fire was July 6th and on, so I can give you that date. I could not give you the start date of the PSPS.
Okay. Because you said strong winds and low humidity. Do we know if the winds were over 45 miles per hour and the humidity was below 45%?
Department.
The humidity was below. The winds were varied that week. We'd have to look at a day-by-day comparison of the winds, but the winds did get to over 40 miles an hour on the crater that week, but I couldn't tell you if all those days it lined up to trigger a PSPS.
And are you aware if this region is within their PSPS coverage?
That's a good question also. I've reviewed their maps, and I do not recall if this upper area of Haleakala, which is near the summit, this was much higher than where the homes are, is actually part of their mapping for PSPS.
Okay, and the only water source, okay, never mind, thank you.
Okay, welcome, Member Rollins Fernandez.
Aloha, everyone. Happy to be here.
And do you have questions, or shall we come back to you? I know you're setting up.
Sure.
Yeah, wait, I'm taking who's in the chambers first.
Oh, okay. Sure, I did have a follow-up question to Member Paulton's line of questioning.
Your mic.
Okay. It's about funding. So because this was emergency response, and aloha, Chief. Mahalo for being with us today. Will this be, a portion of it be reimbursable through FEMA?
So this particular fire, the Crater Road fire, as far as I understand, did not qualify for an FMAG. And all the most recent emergency proclamation that we had was in reference to the flooding, where we did reach the threshold. But I'll go double check to see if there is some reconsideration of that for this one fire.
Can you send a question?
Okay, mahalo. I have maybe another question, but let me formulate it. I'll thank you for
Come back? Okay, Member Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to support. I have no questions.
Okay, so Chair Lee did not sign on yet. Member Johnson, Member Cook, Member Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair. My questions have been answered. I'm ready to vote.
Okay, good. Member Cook?
I'm also ready to vote in support of Chair. Thank you.
Very good. Member Sinensi?
No questions, Chair. Mahalo.
Okay, sounds good. Member Paulton, you had more questions. You were starting, and then we'll go back to Member Rollins Fernandez.
Oh, okay. Chief, the only water source you were able to utilize were helicopter drops and tankers. There's no hydrants in that area.
Yeah, good question. So the nearest hydrant system to that fire was in the Kula 200 or Lower Crater Road area. And so we did utilize that as far as the Department of Water Supply source to fill and fight the fire. We set up several pumpkins on the hill, and that's where the water was being distributed by the helicopters as well as the crews on the ground. So we're basically moving the water from the hydrants up the hill. The other water source that we did use a bit of was with the National Guard. They did use some of the reservoirs in the area with their aircraft.
And so it was a lot of potable water, the ones that from the hydrants. And then the dozers were used for fire breaks.
Yes, the fire breaks adjacent to the fire. And then in this instance, because the winds were sustained for so long and the humidity was so low, we put a secondary fire break in outside of the primary fire break for this particular fire.
Shoot, I had one other question, but I spaced out on what it was. I got like 3 things going on. Sorry about that. Can you come back to me after her?
Okay. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Okay, so the question that I wanted to ask was regarding the outside vendors. So I see in the second paragraph of the transmittal, it's 50,000. Okay, in addition, excavators. 50,000 of these will be toward the helicopter flight charge, and the remaining 250 will go toward other services related to brush fire assistance. So I guess I know this isn't the full cost of responding to the Crater Road fire. This is just supplemental to cover the balance, correct?
Correct.
So I guess with Member Paulton asking about HECO contributing as the reason, the start of the fire. When you do reach out, when the department reaches out for assistance, what kind of financial support does the department ask for from HECO? Like what types of expenses, I guess?
So we're going to breach this conversation this coming week. And my goal is to, as we have taxpayers that pay for our department services, there's a certain expectation of us. However, when we have to hire outside contractors and additional resources, that's kind of above and beyond what our department normally provides. Those are the types of resources and cost recovery that I'm going to be looking for from the utility company and any other person that may start a fire. It doesn't have to only be utility based. It could be a construction company. It could be agriculture company that starts a fire, and then we have to put all these resources towards.
Correct. So in pursuing this, I guess, are you hopeful that they will be receptive to this discussion? I mean, I guess they wouldn't be if they weren't willing to have a conversation. But, if things don't go well, has the department pursued or had the Corp Council pursue a civil course of action to assist with the finances?
Yeah, great question. I am eternally optimistic, however, a realist. So we do have a secondary plan should we need it, but I think we can start by talking and seeing what they're willing to support before we have to get our lawyers involved.
Starting with talking is always a good. It's always good. Mahalo, Chief. That was the bell. Mahalo,
Okay,
Chair.
very good. Member Paulton.
Thank you. I just was wondering if and when was the last time HECO engaged in brush abatement under the lines up there?
You're talking about up at Crater Road?
Yeah. I mean, since we don't have any hydrants nearby and it's a big deal.
So this is where I think it's an important public education point. The utility company is only responsible for vegetation that's in a very extreme danger, which means coming into contact with power lines, which is generally speaking within 10 feet. and they'll hire a contractor to go trim trees when they have that situation because they think it's imminent danger, and they'll work on it. But the vegetation that's on the ground, oftentimes and most times, is the responsibility of the landowner. So that's where we all have to kind of work together, because not all landowners can afford to clear all the vegetation underneath all their power lines where they've given easements.
Who's the landowner in this situation?
In this situation, I think the area that it started in was Haleakala Ranch.
Okay, they have been good partners with our water catchment, so maybe we just need to continue the conversation on how to be better partners.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahal, quick one. Chief, when you say pumpkin, are you talking about the portable water tanks?
Correct, between 2,500 gallons and 4,000 gallon portable water tanks.
I saw them for the first time on Molokai, and I thought they were so cool. I didn't know they were called pumpkins. Mahalo. It was yellow. It was a yellow pumpkin.
Yeah.
Aw, ours are not yellow. Can you paint ours? Just kidding. Huh? Okay.
Lowest bid.
No, ours are just plain old metal looking, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not grumbling. So on this, I just want to make a statement about Haleakala Ranch, that I credit Haleakala Ranch, Mahi Pono, all of them that was helping us during the wildfire. And I always say Haleakala Ranch being a good partner. If they didn't come into action, we would not have Kula 200. So these partners that we have that activated, I am forever grateful, because they do more than we even know. So at this time, members, if there's no other questions, I'm going to call for the vote. Any more questions? Seeing none. Okay. I'll call for passage on first reading, Bill 24, entitled A Bill for an Ordinance Amending the Fiscal Year 25 Budget for the County of Maui Estimated Revenues and Department of Fire and Public Safety Rescue Operations Program, incorporating any non-substantive revisions.
So moved.
Second.
I think I heard Member Hajan, second by Member Kama. Any more discussion? Seeing none online and in the chamber. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Tamara Paulton. Okay, we have 8 votes and 1 excuse, which is Chair Lee. Very good. Okay, now we have 3 more bills. Bill 36, amending fiscal year budget for this is the Managed Retreat Revolving Fund for Baldwin Beach Park. This next item proposes amending fiscal year 25 budget to use $100,000 of the Managed Retreat Revolving Fund for removing structures, tree stumps, and other debris affected by shoreline erosion at Baldwin Beach Park. Assisting us with our discussion today is, Director, we have, thank you, Director McCall and Robert Agapai. We always see you online, which is for your Parks Maintenance Supervisor. And so at this time, do we have any comments from the department? And then we'll go to the Budget Director. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. McCall.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
I believe we had this discussion early last fall, shortly after the event. And so we're now at that point where we're here asking for the funds for the work that was done and a little bit of work to still be done regarding some tree removal and some cesspool tank that still needs to be removed from the area. So we're here. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Milner, or do you have anything to say, Robert Akapai? Is that how you say it? Okay. Ms. Milner.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as you said, this is to use managed retreat funds to cover the costs of the debris removal that Director McCall discussed. Thank you.
Pretty cool. All right. Do we have anyone signed up for testimony?
Chair, there's currently no one signed up to testify. We'll do a last call. If there's anybody who'd like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, no one has identified themselves as wishing to testify.
Okay, if there's no objections, I'm going to close public testimony for this item and receive written testimony. Thank you. So at this time, then, we'll take questions, and we will take questions from those online first, and then we'll go to the chambers. So we have Member Johnson first, then we'll have Cook, Senensi, and then we'll go in the chambers with comma.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is good use of the funds, so I don't have any questions.
Great. All right. Next, we'll have Member Cook.
I'm in agreement, good use of the funds, and I'm supportive.
Okay. Member Senensi.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also supportive. Thank you.
Okay, no questions. Great. Member, yes. Member Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director McCaw. I just had one question.
We're not going to take a vote yet. I'm still having. Okay, we'll take you next. I was going to take comma first. Go ahead.
Oh.
No, but I can see that Member Paulson's so excited.
Yeah.
I don't want her to lose her thought because she lost her thought last time.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Director McCaw, this was my main question is, do you support the reinstatement of the managed retreat fund?
Yeah.
At this point, I don't have enough information all the way through, but I can definitely see us using it as we finalize our plans in the Baldwin area. Also considering the issues we're currently facing South Maui, and also some areas along our west shore. So that fund's going to be very important to maintain going forward.
Thank you.
Was that your one question? You're done?
I don't know if any other members sparked something in my subconscious.
Okay. So we may
for
come
now.
back to you. Okay. Member Kama, then we'll go to Member Rollins Fernandez, Member Hodgins.
I have no questions, Chair.
Okay. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, and mahalo, Department, for being with us. I'm supportive of this, and just want to reiterate for the public watching that the reason we don't have questions is because we went into a deeper discussion at the end of last year. So if you want to, if the public wants to go and hear the discussion, then you can watch the last meeting on this to hear all the work that's being done and all the questions that we asked then. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Member Hodgins.
I don't have any questions, but thank you so much for doing this work so quickly. It was really sad to see it go, but I understood why it needed to go. As Member Rollins Fernandez said, we went to a deep discussion. And I just look forward to one day having a pavilion back at Baldwin. But up until then, thank you so much. I appreciate your hard work.
Okay, very good. And I just want to, for my turn, just say that the reason why Member Paulton is asking to reinstate is because during the budget session and all that was going on with West Maui, we sort of relaxed it for a possible 3-year period so that it could be used for other things, which it did get used for other things during the budget process. But if we are going to reinstate it, we'll take that up, and that's what that's about. So we didn't expect you to really know that at this point, which is kind of a on-the-spot question, but thank you for all your hard work. So members, if there are no other questions, I'm going to call for the vote. I see no other hands that go up. So at this time, I would like to ask for passage or first reading on Bill 3625, entitled A Bill for an Ordinance Amending Fiscal Year 25 Budget for the County of Maui, Appendix A, Part 2, Managed Retreat Revolving Fund, Baldwin Beach Park, incorporating any non-substantive revisions.
So moved.
Second.
So moved. I think it was Member Hodgins, second by Member Kama. All those, any more discussion? None? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Fulton? Ms. Fulton? Yeah. Okay, so this is 8 ayes, 1 excuse, which is Chair Lee. Motion carries. Thank you very much, department, for coming. Thank you for your good work. Okay, now we're going to be on the sixth item with 7 total, so we're getting there. Bill 34, amending the fiscal year 25 budget, Office of the Mayor Economic Development Program, grants and disbursements for cultural arts and tourism, Wailuku Film Festival. So members, we have Cynthia Lalo, who is in charge of OED, Chief of Staff. I don't know how many hats you have. Oh, your energy commissioner, your everything, right? When there's a puka, we send Cynthia Lalo to fill it. Members, the next item, the agenda, it proposes to amend the fiscal year budget for Maui Film Festival to Maui Economic Development Board for the Wailuku Film Festival, which is a new project. Assisting us today is Chief of Staff Lalo and Budget Director Milner. Do you have any opening comments before we take public testimony? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Council. I am here to let you know that what we have known affectionately over many years is the Maui Film Festival. Our friends Barry and Stella Rivers are retiring finally, and they we have documentation of that and a release of the allocation of those funds. And as you know, we have a film office that is headed by Brian Cohn and Kathy Collins, and they are doing some incredible local work and right-sized work for Maui and the film industry. Their proposal is to put together a Wailuku Film Festival that focuses on student work as well as local filmmakers. And I want to note that Brian is online if anyone would like to ask any questions regarding this. Thank you.
Members, may I ask if we can I didn't announce him at the beginning because I didn't know he was going to be online. Brian Cohn, our film commissioner for Maui County. Do you have any comments to add?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, council members. I've met with the majority of you about a series of ambitious initiatives that we'll be pursuing in the coming years designed to address present, mid-range, and long-term needs in our community for our film industry. Big picture is we want to grow an industry from the ground up, one that not only is sustainable and right-sized for Maui County, but also is prepared to work with our visiting filmmakers. The Wailuku Film Festival is an initiative we've been developing for over a year, probably much longer than that. Made in Hawaii, student and indigenous works. We aim to position Wailuku and the Wailuku Film Festival as the annual gathering place for the makers of Hawaii and to create the framework by which our students in our community, let alone students around the state, can gather and be included and be a part of something meaningful and interact with professionals, which is how we all take great leaps. So we're really also looking to extend this idea of Wailuku being the center of arts and entertainment, the hub, the gathering place that it's always been, and we want to establish a new identity, a new chapter for Maui and Maui County's film industry. And so Wailuku Film Festival, with the reallocation of this funds that allows us to get going this year, we won't hold the first full-blown 4-day event until June of 2026. However, we'll start to do a series of one-offs and training and establish the brand, and over time start to aggregate support from the community. And of course, and it goes without saying, I believe, that an event like this, let alone a recurring event in Wailuku, is going to also engage not only the community, but the local businesses. So we feel that the Wailuku Film Festival is a part of our, it's something we can do now, and it's something that will grow into whatever it wants to be as Wailuku also redefines its identity. Mahalo. Any questions, please? I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. So will you stay on as a resource, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Ms. Milner, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, not questions. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to add at this time.
Okay. So at this time, do we have any testifiers?
Chair, I do see Brian Cohn signed up to testify, but I believe he just gave his comments, so I don't know if he has any additional testimony to provide.
Mr. Cohn, so you already, yeah.
Okay.
Stay on it.
Correct. I'm good right now.
Then
I
Chair,
see JC Law
Yes.
approaching the,
Yukile, I just wanted to, I run a risk of going off topic a little bit, but I would like to see a Kula Film Festival. Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, I will ask your permission to close public testimony and receive written testimony. Thank you. All right, members, so we'll go through questions for this item, and we'll start off with Member Kama, then go to Member Paulton, Member Rollins Fernandez, and Member Hodgins.
Thank you for being here, Brian. So could you expand on your vision for the Wailuku Film Festival?
Absolutely. As I mentioned previously, the first 4-day event will occur in June of 2026. The timing of an event like this is really important. It will occur at the end of a school year, which allows us to communicate with students statewide to have their work ready. It's also well in advance of the Hawaii International Film Festival, which is a major event that happens in November. Timing, it will be after graduation, before July 4th. So it's all about gathering, ultimately, and growing. The Maui, this is all an extension of the initiatives and the mission of the Maui Film Office moving into this new chapter, which is to integrate training and education and to create opportunities for our residents. I think every day about today's 12-year-old and where are they going to be 10 years from now? Are we going to have an industry, a thriving industry waiting for them when they turn 22 and they've returned from college or completed training in the islands? So the Wailuku Film Festival is really about establishing a place for everybody and helping the community, the Maui County community, understand that these industries are blue collar and there's a seat at the table for everybody.
And Brian, how much money are you going to need for this?
Well, the amount that I'm aware of that would be reallocated from the Maui Film Festival will be enough for us to do our branding in this next year, build a team, start to establish the infrastructure, really have a dialogue, and I want to interact with the community, the local businesses, the stakeholders. Centering the festival in the EL Theater makes the most sense, but we also, within a year, will have access to MAPA's Naylor Theater, the old National Dollar Building. So Wailuku is about to have 2 proper environments for screening, let alone for workshops and trainings. I'm also in direct contact with the Screen Actors Guild and IATSE, the Stage Workers Union, and both have pledged support, not only holistic support, but financial support to run workshops that their members will participate in. So once again, it's an opportunity for our students to fundamentally understand what possibilities there are and work directly with professionals, let alone the many from the island of Maui in particular that have gone away, that have started to come home. We want the Wailuku Film Festival to be a place where our brothers and sisters who are no longer here, but working in this industry, have an opportunity to come home, contribute, and possibly even share their work, further inspiring our current and future generations and creating direct networking opportunities straight into the industry.
So you're going to take the balance of the Maui Film Festival's budget and use that until, I guess, the end of the year is when the budget would expire. Have you submitted a budget for the 26-27 year?
Yes, our intention is hopefully that this can become a recurring item that we can look forward to, as I mentioned, by starting off the way that we plan to this year through a series of one night only, one day only. We think that we can also slowly over time gather additional financial support from the community, from donors, through partnerships, and our partnership with MEDB is an inherent fiscal partnership. So any donations that we might receive can flow to the festival through MEDB. So yeah, I would say though that that's again the power of getting started now is we have a lot to discover and we have a lot of partnerships to forge. So I believe that this amount this year is absolutely adequate. If this amount were recurring in 2026, I have no doubt we can throw an amazing event in June of 2026 while gaining momentum, elsewhere in the community for the event, let alone building out a team. This is not something that would merely be driven by the film office, but rather we'll be initiating it and stewarding the event until a team or even a new leader might rise to champion an event that's so important to our industry.
Thank you. Ms. Lawler, would you know what that amount of money would be?
Thanks for asking. It is $90,250, I believe, but let's double check with Budget Director Milner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Kama. Yes, that's the amount for fiscal year 25, and we have received a request for fiscal year 26 as well, which would be higher, but we are currently in the phases of finalizing the budget, so I don't have an exact number for you at this time.
Okay, so at some point in time, could we get those exact numbers? Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, Member Paulton, then Member Rollins-Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair. I think my questions would be for Mr. Kuhn. And sorry, I was listening in on a different meeting if this question was already asked and answered. What was the venue in Wailuku that you were looking at?
Ideally, the event will center in the historic Iao Theater, which seems right for any of us who have been in and around Wailuku the majority of our lives. But in the coming year, the completion of MAPA's Naylor Theater, right there on Main Street will happen. I've got lifelong relationships with that organization, and we already have agreements in place, soft agreements, to utilize their space, not only for possible screenings, but for workshops and other things. MAPA also will have classrooms because this festival is not, I can't stress anymore, this festival is not in any way, shape, or form identical to how the Maui Film Festival operated. This is a grassroots film festival, and like the best ones I've ever attended or participated in my life. We're seeking to start it in a town, to plant it in a town like Park City, which became Sundance, and Telluride, and Aspen, and the list goes on. So yeah, we have two venues specifically, but a festival like this, businesses can become venues. Businesses can host screenings, let alone the facility that will be under construction, adjacent to the parking lot. So the time is right for something like this in Wailuku to begin. And I think working together, we can really do something special for our community.
So, what were you envisioning attendance to be like, and would there be like ticket sales, and what would those prices be like if there is ticket sales?
Yeah, I think there'd be a combination of things. I mean, even Emua's Discovery Garden becomes a possible, the amphitheater becomes a possible screening venue for, say, free family films. So there's all kinds of possibilities, and that has to be investigated. I always hedge on the side of affordability. So, $15 free for students. There's all kinds of ways to explore it. And I believe, I've always felt that having someone who's screened in festivals the world over and never really been compensated, I've always felt that if we set this up right, that the box office revenue can then go directly back to the filmmakers. To help seed their future projects, be it students, be it made in Hawaii makers. So I'd say the way the revenue works, this is not a for-profit operation. This is a community service that we want to figure out. We want to figure out the recipe for this. I think in the long term, the right person could come along, a new executive director who possibly could convert this into a nonprofit and run it in that way. But initially, the Maui Film Film Office will be the steward, and it would be my goal, not only affordability, but if we can find a way to move whatever revenue we generate back into the hands of the filmmakers themselves, I think we're doing the right thing, and then that's what will perpetuate, more filmmaking and growth in the industry. Far too many film festivals exist to exploit filmmakers, and I know this better than anybody.
Thank you. My time is up.
All right, Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Ms. Lalo, Mr. Cohn, mahalo for being with us. I support this. I love the vision of showcasing our local talent, and this vision of really centering our community. I don't have any questions. I'm excited to see this new direction. So mahalo, Mr. Cohn, for your work. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Member Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. Aloha, Mr. Cohn. Hello. Nice to see you guys. What's a Naylor Theater?
The Naylor Theater, the old National Dollar building, has been under reconstruction. MAPA's had
I permitted that spot, and we called it a black box theater. What's the difference?
Naylor is the brand name. A donor gave them a substantial amount of money for the naming rights, and it's an individual by the name of Susan Naylor, and so they've elected to call it the Naylor Theater. I would also note that right around the corner there is the Charlie Naylor Recovery Center that was put together also by the same donor. The same donor is very instrumental in funding Imua Family Services. So so the Naylor Theater is simply a name for
I thought
MAPA's
it was
black box that will
theater.
No, and it'll seat about 190 people theoretically.
Yep. And then, did you say you were going to use this $90,000 for branding this year? Because the festival is in 26.
Branding will be part of the effort. It'll be about developing the infrastructure and holding a series of one-off events. Someone testified in public about we should have a Kula Film Festival. I can see how this brand could also move around just because it's centered in Wailuku. It doesn't mean that the Wailuku Film Festival couldn't happen in a school, in a community, on another island. Molokai is about to have its first movie theater in 20 years. I'd like to see the Molokai Film Festival happen, but the Wailuku Film Festival, if we start getting it going in a soft way, by the time we hold our first major event, the branding, will be well established and the community should be engaged. And hopefully we've also created partnerships within the visitor industry to be able to fly in filmmakers, let alone put them up,
Okay.
Some of the most exciting filmmakers in the world right now are coming out of New Zealand, for example, indigenous filmmakers. So if we can bring some of these personalities into our community to engage directly with our residents, I think we're moving forward.
Cool. I don't think I have any other questions for now, but thanks. Thank you.
Okay, great. So next we have Member Johnson, then Member Cook. He's not here. And then Member Senenzi.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Cohn and Ms. Lau for you guys' opening remarks. First off, I'm always going to support the arts. $1 spent in the arts comes back $9 in economic activity. I learned that at NACO last weekend. So just always going to support it. I'm really curious, Mr. Cohn, if you would consider, the idea of subsidizing the artists. I totally agree with you, but how about subsidizing some of the folks in Wailuku, like students skip free passes, or people with disabilities, and just throw a big net and see if we can get more folks to come to these kinds of events with a subsidized ticket.
Absolutely. And there's also an agency that's active right now in the theater world. I would point out Wave of Harmony is a model. There's a nonprofit that has been doing just that. They've been accumulating resources and then busing students to the plays. Taking the Kincaid students to the Seabury plays and vice versa. And so I think all this stuff is possible. And so I'd point to, again, the work that we do in the coming years with this particular reallocation would be to look at all of these things and to build a team. Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah, inclusivity is number one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cullen. Full support, Chair.
Very good. Member Sinensi? Oh, I don't see him. He's not here. Oh, there he is.
I'm supportive. Thank you. My question was answered.
Okay, very good. Does anybody have any more questions before we take the vote? I see no hands. Oh, Member Kama.
So, I think this is for Ms. Lalo. So, how are the salaries of the film commissioner and the deputy film commissioner being paid if all they got is 90,000? That's almost salaries. I mean,
Thank you for your question. That's a really great question. This particular line item is just for the film festival. There is another line item that is for the MADB film office that covers
their salary.
Correct.
Do we know what that is?
I do not.
Ms. Milner?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Kama. I believe MEDB is using the funds from, I think we have a line item that just is specifically MEDB. I think they're using some of the funds from that grant to cover the salaries this year.
Can we know that? Can we get that for sure?
We'll ask that question.
Okay.
We'll send it in writing. Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else
No,
to add
that's
regarding
it.
that? Okay.
I just want to make sure they're getting paid because it didn't look like.
Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo Chair. I agree with Member Kama. I don't think they're getting paid. So if we can confirm that, because it sounds like when MEDB was allocated the funding for them wasn't included in that line item.
So we'll ask for it in writing so that we could get this clarified, because we definitely, that's kind of odd for people to be working for us and not getting paid. So there might be something else going on that we don't know that you need to tell us. Could you tell us in writing, I guess? Ms. Milner, okay. And I just want to say that in general, because I have been focusing on EL Theater, that it is 100 years old next year and it needs massive renovations, roof work and whatever. And that in this coming budget, I'm going to try to focus on making sure that our 100-year-old EL Theater gets renovated and gives some TLC that it needs. So it may not be available for you to have performances in it if we're renovating it, but I do think that we got to take care of our Wailuku baby. So that's for your FYI. So members, at this time then, I would like to ask for passage on first reading of Bill 34, 2025, entitled A Bill for an Ordinance Amending the Fiscal Year 25 Budget for the County of Maui Office of the Mayor Economic Development Program Grants and Disbursements for Culture, Arts, and Tourism Wailuku Film Festival, incorporating any non-substantive revisions.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. Member Kama, and second by Member Uhajens. Is there any more discussion? So before we take the vote, I just want to thank Barry Rivers and his wife for all the years. I think they did this for 25 years, the Maui Film Festival. And for whatever reason, I had texted them about, are they not doing this anymore? And they were kind of surprised all this was going on. So I think this administration maybe can talk to them because I did not expect that. So, but I want to thank them for all their years of doing the Maui Film Festival. And this is another iteration, I guess, for the future. And I hope that there can be collaboration if for some reason we have misunderstood the river. So at this time, members, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Member Paulton, Okay, that's, remember, okay. 8 ayes, 1 excuse is Chair Lee.
Chair, apologies. We don't see Councilmember
Oh, that's
Cook.
right. Oh, that's right. Tom Cook, Member Cook is not here. So that's 7 ayes and 2 excuse. All right. So we have the last item on our agenda. Thank you. Are you here also, Cynthia Lalo, who does everything? Okay, so this is about Akaku, Bill 22, and to provide estimated revenues from the Office of the Mayor Administrative Program, a grant to Akaku. And this is to increase the grant for them by $40,000 using additional revenues from carryover savings. And this increase is needed due to a higher than expected number of public meetings requiring additional funding to cover broadcasting costs. So assisting us today, it is Chief of Staff Lalo and Budget Director Milner. So can I have some opening comments?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as indicated in the transmittal letter, this is due to increased costs. As you'll remember, we had $140,000 budgeted in the FY24 budget. We had some communications with Akaku, and there was unfortunately a misunderstanding about the funding needed for FY25. So we are requesting this amendment to yet again allocate the $140,000 to support the work they're doing for our boards and commissions and our other organizations. Thank you, Chair.
Wow. Chief of Staff?
Thank you. No comment.
Okay. So at this time, then I'll take public testimony.
Chair, there's currently no one signed up to testify, but there is an individual approaching the podium.
Okay.
I vote yes for this one in case anybody gets banned from the meeting.
All right. So any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. All right, I'm going to close public testimony and receive written testimony on this item, Bill 22.
No objections.
Thank you. All right, let's proceed with questions. So Member Kama, Member Paulton, Member Kiani Rollins Fernandez, and then Member Hodgins.
So as I read this letter dated February 13th, so the funding is being requested because of the increase in board and commission meetings that are being covered by Akaku. So does that mean every time we have our meetings are normally scheduled every other week, right? But then I know I'm getting extra meetings, and I know BFED's going to be doing extra meetings, and we've had a couple of extra meetings. It's great. So all of those extra meetings, an extra charge that we're being charged, or is there a blanket covering for the meetings that Akaku videos?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Kama. Yes, the Akaku charges us for all of the meetings they cover. I know they have covered some meetings at no charge in the past. That was why their contract costs remained at $100,000 for so long, even though they were working above and beyond that. Okay. So in discussions with Chivo, $140,000 is sufficient to cover the anticipated meetings based on what's been happening over the last couple of years.
So that will cover this 25, and does it cover, will the 140 take us from 25 to 26?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Kama. There will be a new line item appropriation in the fiscal year 26 budget.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Paulton.
No questions.
Okay. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Full support. Anything Akaku wants. They're amazing. They make sure that all the information gets to the public. So fully support. Mahalo, Chair.
Member Hodgins.
I too have no questions and support Akaku. They've covered my town hall meetings when we're providing really important safety information to the community, and I appreciate all that they do. Thank you so much for bringing this up to us.
Thank you. Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. No questions at this time. Full support.
Great. Member Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair. No questions. Speak in support. Mahalo Akaku, and mahalo to Chivo, Caro, and Adam downstairs for always sharing all our meetings with the community. And just in retrospect, I mean, just several years ago, we never had televised meetings. Everything was all closed meetings, so the public didn't get to see what was going on in all of our council meetings. So, very important to share that, especially when we see a lot of news outlets are being censored lately. So, very appreciative, Chair. Thank you.
Great. So I want to express my gratitude to Chivo, because a lot of times when I have my upcountry meetings, I call him, he coordinates everything, and yeah, they're pretty amazing. I want to then, no other questions? I'm going to call for the vote. No questions. Yeah? No. Okay. I'm going to recommend passage on first reading, Bill 22, entitled A Bill for an Ordinance amending fiscal year 25 budget for the County of Maui, estimated revenues, Office of the Mayor, Administration Program, grant to Akaku, incorporating any non-substantive revisions.
No.
Oh, who made the motion? No objection.
So moved.
So moved. Okay, so Member Kama and Member Hodgins. Any more discussion? No? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's 7 ayes, 2 excused, which is Member Cook and Chair Lee. This motion carries, and we are done with this meeting. So thank you, everybody, very much. Ms. Milner, thank you for spending your whole morning with us. We might see you at 1 o'clock. Okay, thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.